guys, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Mena, and this episode is one of those that I took a few notes. It's just like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, things I want to follow up with my intuitive eating and what I concluded or continue to grow through and learn from that tapping session I did with Tiffany. And I also want to give a bit of an update on what's going on with my husband and me. And I'm gonna go ahead and start there. And as a recap, through this whole journey, this whole twin flame / healing journey, I have surrendered many things. And basically what you're doing is surrendering control. So as a recap, through my twin flame relationships, my romantic ones, I surrendered the control that the external source had on me, which was my love for them and me waiting for them, being dependent on them coming back to me. My happiness was dependent on them loving me. So I surrendered that control and I am free of it. Then I had to surrender the control that my mom and my mama surrogate had on me, and that was the control of an oppressor. So I was able to free myself from that. And then I had that other oppressive twin flame relationship, and I surrendered the control that of the expectations put on me by others and myself. I put expectations on myself that I should not have. So I've freed myself many times on this healing journey. Sorry, it distracted me the last time too. So I know what it's like to surrender. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I have become a master. It takes a while to get there, but as I start to recognize the signs of patterns, I get it. So one of the patterns that I've had my whole life, or most of my life, more than half of my life, is allowing myself to be blamed for things I haven't done. And this was through, many things. The oppressive twin relationship helped me overcome that. I won't allow myself to internalize things that don't belong to me. And so I've been fighting and butting heads with my husband for years because he blames me for things I haven't done. And I already told this story that I finally got to a place where I was absolutely done, screaming surrender at the top of my lungs. I surrender, I surrender. And then 2 days later, because of that shift in my energy, it allowed for my husband's energy to shift too. And he was able to introspect and see within himself the reason that he has been blaming me all these years for everything. And that is because he had this protective ego shell around this piece of his childhood that was damaged by his mom telling him that he could never do anything right. So once we recognized that inner child, that hurt that he's been protecting, once we cracked through that layer of ego, he was allowed to see the direct correlation between him always being told as a child that he could never do anything right to him as an adult saying, I didn't do anything wrong. So he's been protecting that. And because I've been on this healing journey and I'm a spiritual person, I see it and I recognize it. So I was so grateful to have this real life experience with a real live relationship in my life. Because so far the twins, while it felt very real to me, and I'm talking all four of them, the two oppressors and the two romantic interests, they've been representatives for an experience in my past. I actually, through the surrogate mama relationship, I actually really had to do things over again and deal with it again, but it absolutely repeated and mimicked circumstances that I dealt with my mom. Now, the romantic twins, there was a little bit of where I actually did experience parts of it, but most of that truly was a representation for something else. It was me projecting my hurts and issues onto them and dealing with them on my own. So not quite a real relationship, but a representation of another in which for me to heal. The difference this time around is that my husband is not a representation. I've been living this forever. And because he's not on this same spiritual path that I'm on, I never expected this moment to happen. And I feel so fortunate to see it in action because I get now, I see it, I saw it. I know that, there's theories out there that once your energy shifts, things change. I'm no longer attracting that need to be blamed because I've surrendered it. So therefore, guess what's happened? he's not blaming me anymore. And I said in that last video that, I feel like some of the pressure's been released and I have a room for more drips. Well, I do not, because that man has pressed my button a couple more times and I went from 0 to 1,000 in half a second. And I misspoke in my last, not this video, but the one before it, when I said that, I talked about how before I would express myself, I'd cut myself. And then I got expressive and I would just unleash. Well, I was incorrect in that. I didn't speak well of myself because I said I lashed out and I get mean and nasty. That's not true. What happened, and I've always done it, I just really learned how to rewire myself to not hurt myself. But I still go through these screaming things. But when we're fighting, I'm not pointing the finger and blaming and saying you're a shitty asshole person, fuck you. I'm trying to teach my loud noise, my huge voice is because I'm very upset. It's not because I'm trying to scream at him. I would prefer I didn't, but I'm so emotional that, when you're heated like that, it just comes out louder. But every single time that we've had these confrontations, it's been me trying to teach and trying to demonstrate what I really mean, trying to teach him that you can have another point of view, trying to show him that the glass is not half empty. And he would retaliate in a vengeful way and accuse and point fingers, call names, degrade, put me down. All these years in an attempt to deflect from him doing the wrong thing. So what's happened now in this shift is I'm no longer feeling like I'm done teaching him. If he hasn't figured it out, then fuck him, because I'm done. But the good thing is that he has figured it out. And so what's interesting is that I don't have the drips anymore. There's no more room. My pressure cooker is, still pressured. But so I'm not instructing him anymore. When he comes at me with some kind of blame, like I said, I blow up. So it's interesting to me that role has switched too. In that now I'm done minding my words. I'm just going to blow up and say, fuck you, quit blaming me. He's the one that now has to take time and mind his words and plan on what he's going to say. He's the one that has to take a moment to step back and say, how do I want to phrase this? I want to do it in the most constructive and kind way possible. Am I seeing all the possibilities? So he has truly taken to heart what I have taught him. And one day he came in and he got all shitty with me and I blew up. And this is how I discovered that, this particular role has reversed. Because he came to me and he said, well, I finally learned, so now you have to be patient with me and teach me. And I'm like, no, I don't. I've been teaching you for 30 years. You know now. Now you do your inner work and you get your shit together and quit blaming me, because I'm done babying you and teaching you. You already know what I've been trying to say all along. So, and I said to him, I warned him, I said, I just don't think I can control myself. I am so angry and I am so done that I feel like every single time you lay any kind of blame on me, it's gonna blow me up. So, and I told him, I go, the responsibility lies 100% with you now. You've either got to, embrace this, grow and change, or I have to leave. Those are the only only two options at this point, because I'm done tolerating it. I've got to that place. And he's so grateful for me having opened his eyes. And I have, 30 years worth of hurt with him, accusing me of this, and this. And my mom used to tell me, she used to accuse me of beating a dead horse. You keep bringing up the past. You can't let it go. And she's right in a way. However, I wasn't beating a dead horse. That circumstance may have happened 5 years ago or whatever, but you're still pulling the same shenanigans. You're still doing the same things to me. So that horse is not dead. She couldn't ever see that. So my husband heard my mom say that many, many years ago. So he's been accusing me too of beating a dead horse. And I tell him the same thing. That horse isn't dead. You've been doing the same thing to me all these years. And every time I bring it up, I'm using it as an example of how it's similar to what you just did. You do it over and over and over again. That horse ain't dead. I think that horse is dead or dying now. And as we're going through this, I know that because all those other relationships, those healing relationships I had were either mostly fabricated and all in my mind to heal from the past, or because these experiences were from people that served as oppressors to break away from for me, I will never get the satisfaction and validation of apologies through them. Michael and Fairy Boy, they don't really owe me apologies, so I don't expect to get that. I'm not dependent on an apology. And the two oppressors, I just don't even care. You know, Jean-Francois told me a year or so ago, and he said to me, you don't have to give your energy to people and relationships that don't make you feel good. So I don't even need any kind of resolution from those relationships. I'm done. My mom's never going to apologize to me anyway. I don't care. And, the surrogate mom, she doesn't see that there's been any kind of responsibility on her end. And the other oppressor, I don't know if he's apologized or not, because again, I'm done feeding that experience in my life any energy. So I shut it down. I'm not interested. I have messages. I have so many from people that I've just chose to not give energy to anymore. And that's okay, because even though on the flip side there may be love and light, we are here to have human experiences, and we grow through these humans that we interacted with. So it's not unkind, it's not the wrong thing to do to cut off relationships that don't make us feel good. So going back to this validation of ownership that these offenders, because I understand that they were all contracted and brought upon by me. I am a victim to no one. I didn't expect my husband to apologize and own up to anything either, because I've learned to not rely on others for my joy, for my peace. It's ultimately up to me. But I'm getting that validation. I'm getting those apologies. So when I bring up all my dead horse issues of things he did to me back in 1991, 80, or not 80, I didn't know him in the 80s, but 98, 2002, whatever it is, I have a list of so many instances in which he treated me unfairly. And I'm bringing them up again because I'm hurt. And I want him to see finally with his new filter what has been going on. And I'm not dependent on it, but I'm telling him anyway, and it is providing me with much satisfaction, healing, and relief, because over and over again, he's apologizing and he's like, I see how that hurt you, and I see how I was wrong, and I'm very sorry, and thank you for sharing that with me. Because it's like, he doesn't like loose ends. He wants to tidy up everything. It's like he will stay up way past bedtime in order to get all the chores done. Not me. I'll let them go till next week, tomorrow, whenever I need to sleep. But not him. He likes to have all of his ducks in a row. He has ADD and OCD, so when things are not just so, it makes him nuts and uneasy. So one of the loose ends that he's experiencing right now is that I feel like he can't just take like a general chunk of his life and say, I fucked up, but I'm going to change it. He wants to take each piece and analyze it and own it and see it for what it is. And so I'm getting a lot of healing out of this. He's been so gracious when I bring it up again. But once I bring it up and he has this, this light bulb go off and he owns it, it's like there's peace. I feel healed and he feels healed. And so I've expressed to him how grateful I am for him allowing me to share with him all of these instances in which he was just wrong. And so he's, his gears are turning and he's applying it to seeing how he and his brother, they're very close in age. Like, I don't even know if they're a year apart, but not much more than a year. And about how they started off as like almost in the same household, but went in completely different directions. And he tries to dissect the dynamics of why all this happened. So he's doing so much introspecting. It's so interesting. I never thought my muggle husband would flip a switch. I really believed that this blaming shit would be the reason for our divorce. And it still could be. I don't know. It could be that the residuals, the damage is still there. I'm not really sure. Or maybe Again, I'm not going to speculate on my future anymore because, I've learned to give up that control too and have expectations of what's next in my life. So I'm open to any possibility. I'm open to us separating and coming back together. I'm open to us getting divorced and remaining friends. I'm even open to me falling back in love with him. Maybe he's my mystery man in my future. Maybe he has such a complete shift in energy that, I become content again. I don't know. However, I thought about like the sex stuff between us, And the reality is, well, I'm a horny girl and I'm a sexual being and I really want some sex and I want romance and love. And he's not that person for me. Maybe he'll have a shift, but I doubt it. But but that's okay, because I see that if I had a healthy sexual relationship with him, that I could not have healed from sex traumas of my past. You can't have both. You can't have a healthy sex life and a fucked up sex life at the same time. So I needed for him to play this role for me. I don't know what his soul is getting out of the lack of sex in our relationship, or if it was just something he chose to help benefit me, or the universe doesn't waste opportunities, so maybe he's getting something out of it too. So I don't I'm not really sure what I wanted to express so much about that. Or teach about that. Just sharing the story. Maybe some of it's relevant to you. The way that, I guess my favorite part about it was being able to recognize the shift. First in me, then 2 days later in him. And how that's brought us so much peace. He hasn't pulled any shenanigans since. He's been very gracious. He's just been awesome. And I've had the talk with my kids. I'm like, you'll see. And he really wants to take some time when the moment's right to talk to our oldest son, Josh, who's kind of adopted some of his behaviors in the way he talks to me, in the way he deflects things and stuff. So that's going to be another very validating moment for me to know that my husband has told my son, listen, your mom's been right all along. In fact, my son sees my point of view because he's been one of my biggest allies too, and saying, Dad, you're being a dick. Not quite in those words, but he does call him out. So I want Josh to hear that Mom was right. I want him to not only hear that my husband has not been setting the best example in treating me the way he did, but also I want Josh to see the example of how his dad is owning his mistakes and how his dad has learned how to express himself to me and his kids and say, hey, I messed up. Because that in itself is a huge lesson. It's so hard for people to own their shit. So for him, God, what a fucking awesome gift that is to his kids to say, this is how you apologize and own and change and grow from a mistake. So I'm very proud of him. I'm so proud and grateful. And I've said all along, he's such a good man. And just that one thing. And here he is working on that one thing. How awesome and beautiful is that? And I think on this journey that, in my personal experience, reading the internet and just understanding the way things work, people often feel like, I deserve this. And in a way, I feel like I've worked so hard. I've done so much inner work. I deserve the love of my 20s. I deserve that reciprocation. But again, I can't control anybody else. So that term, I deserve, I don't really know if I don't know, deserve sounds like entitlement and expectation. But I do sort of feel like I deserve peace in my life. I deserve, I've worked hard to grow. And I kind of, again, the deserve thing, it's like I deserve the validation, but I would be okay without it, if that makes sense. I could live without it, but it's a bonus, and it sure has helped me. So I'm not really sure how to define the word deserve for me in this context. I don't know. Tell you what I do deserve too is, if not love from my 20s, then I really do feel like I deserve love. And let me move on to my intuitive eating on that note, because I've realized that while I do deserve love, I'm not quite there yet. For years, you've been hearing me, if you've been following along, that I'm done with my twin work. I'm done. I'm ready for love. And I say that all the time in my manifesting. I am ready for love. I don't say I want love, or, I don't, because then you're left in a place of wanting. So I say, I am ready. But I see now with this last bit of inner work that I am not quite ready. But I truly believe that overcoming my body shame will bring me to a place of finally being ready. And one of the reasons I believe that is because I don't know what other kind of inner work I have that would prevent me from a loving romantic relationship. Maybe there's stuff there I still haven't uncovered. But another reason that makes me feel like I'm at the end of that journey of becoming worthy and ready of it is that in my, my relationship with Michael, at the very end of it, the last thing that I interacted with him about was my weight. I mentioned this before, that I knew I had to confess it to him, and it was one of my most shameful and scary moments when I can't believe I talk about it now. My fat, I have fat, I got rolls of fat, and I don't like that, Mom. I feel gross and disgusting. I never could say anything like that at one point. I was in complete denial and ignored it even existed. So when I confessed it to him, knowing that he was my twin with which to heal through, I was like, I gotta say all this stuff. And I'm like, I built up to it. I gotta tell you something soon. And then I finally told him. And then I couldn't even read his response because I was so terrified of it. He was actually very kind to me. One of the few moments in which he took time to reach out and try to make me feel better about myself. And he said funny things that really weren't relevant, but I'm so touched that he took the time to, want to help me. So that was like one of the last big things I did with him. And I had to say the same things to Fairy Boy towards the end of our relationship. And I didn't really know, I really was unsure if I was confessing to him the same way I confessed to Michael, or if I was just letting him know for the sake of context in the story I was telling him. But either way, with both of those relationships, that was the end of it. And so now I feel like that I'm finally dealing with this body image stuff, that I'm at the end of, running from the twin, or chasing the twin that's running, or whatever it is, the unrequited love. So, let me jump into, it's like it's connected. So let me go to this food stuff. And I feel like I've mentioned before, but I kept forgetting to describe it. I feel like I am now in yet another twin flame relationship, except this time it's with food. And the reason I'm saying that is because with all of the relationships, I didn't really notice it with the mama issue so much because I worked so closely with her that it didn't feel like an intrusion. It felt like just part of my normal stuff. Plus, I wasn't in a place yet to recognize what was happening. I just didn't get it. But with Michael and Fairy Boy and the other oppressor, whose name I just don't feel like saying because I don't want to just put negativity on him, because I truly understand that he was just a mascot too for me to, evolve from. I don't want to just throw hate at him, because the reality is that I have much gratitude for him taking on that role for me. But I'm still in my human body with my human emotions, and I'm still repelled from him. But with each of those relationships, I was like obsessed. I was obsessed with the romantic twins. I couldn't ever stop thinking about them. I called it like a constant layer in my consciousness, whereas no matter what I said or did or felt or anything, he like almost had to be part of my internal dialogue. And then with the oppressor, it felt like he was, the thoughts were stalking me. It's like, grief. If a loved one dies, you would really love to escape those thoughts, but you can't stop thinking about that death. And so I've gathered that in these twin vibration relationships, it's like an obsession with them. So here I am obsessed with food, and I'm obsessed with what do I want to eat, my cravings. There's so many parts of it. I'm obsessed with when did I eat, I'm like, did I eat? How long ago was it? Am I due for a meal? What did I eat? Should I eat this? Can I eat this? And then I have food in front of me. Is this good? All of these things. I'm trying to, so much stuff's going on. Whatever the thoughts are, it's not, boys or love or rape or mama or anything else. It's food that is the constant layer in my consciousness. So let me tell a little story. Let me see. Okay. So when we were doing that tapping, Tiff and I, we regressed me back to when I was 12 years old at the skating rink, when I first became aware of a little teeny tiny pooch over the waistline of my pants. It was really no big deal, but we all wore super tight jeans back then, and I think even the skinniest of girls may have had like a little teeny tiny overlap. I don't know. Unless you were like had a concave belly, it was going to happen with those tight pants. But what I had, and I've mentioned before too, that I have PCOS, and that is, for those that don't know, it's polycystic ovary syndrome. And that has served me so well on this healing journey. let me tell you a few ways in which it has benefited me. What a genius Fairy Girl was with this. I mean, it irritates me, but I see the beauty in it and how it helped me. But one of the things that PCOS does is keep you infertile. And so all of that hoariness I experienced as a teenager, I didn't have to deal with getting pregnant. I mean, that would have been like a whole other thing to heal from, abortions. Um, and in the past life, Mariana, she told me that I had many abortions. So I didn't have to deal with that this time around because of this PCOS. Also, this PCOS, one of the symptoms of it is weight gain. We don't process our insulin correctly or something. It's similar to diabetes in that the abundance of my pancreas create too much insulin, which converts into fat. Something like that. I don't understand it all the way. So, but right off the bat, I was predisposed to weight gain. And this kicks in at puberty. So that's what's going on at 12-year-old girl at Skateway. Is that puberty kicked in right when boys are starting to notice me, right when I'm starting to fall in love with boys. And I mentioned Justin, that first boy I kissed. I'm still Facebook friends with him. But we had another friend, and that was the one that I spent years being in love with. That was the one that I had unrequited love with. And that was the one who set the scene for the first time of making me feel like the second best and secret girl. And I told the story before in that I was moving away. So he came over to my house and we got like a little freaky, just a little freaky. How old was I at this point? I wasn't 12 anymore. I was a little older. I was just before 8th grade, between 7th and 8th grade, whatever you are, then 13, 14. So I was pretty young. So there was a little petting going on. I don't need to give details, but either way, he told me, shh, don't tell anyone because you're moving away. That was his reason, because I was moving away. Who gives a shit where I live? But the thing is that he said, shh. And then he soon after started to, I can't say date because we didn't date. We'd couple skates at the skating rink, but he started going out with my friend, his friend too. We were all friends. And so, and she was, and here's another thing. She was taller and thinner than I was. And here I am getting rounder and rounder because I got this PCOS and I have never been taught to eat correctly. My mama said, clean your plate. So I gave all my power away in learning how to, be mindful of my own eating. So not only do I not understand the kind of food I should be eating, period, I don't understand the kind of food I should be eating as somebody with PCOS. So with every boy that made me feel like his second best secret, I keep packing the weight on. And I don't know if it's, clearly I wasn't correlating this. I didn't know I had PCOS. I didn't realize that, that I was actually also putting protective blankets of fat on my body to make myself, it's like with every experience, I became more and more unworthy. So I had many, many blankets of fat that I've been hiding under all this time. So it's time for me to shed that false belief of feeling shame under these blankets of fat. That's not why I was unworthy. In retrospect, I was unworthy because of false beliefs created in my youth. I was, my mama not loving me. But, also because unbeknownst to me, my past life was bleeding in and I needed to recreate that experience of feeling used and abused and unloved and, sexually exploited, and the girl that the men keep secret and go home and parade their public, relationships. So all of it played in perfectly. And even as an adult, being married to my husband and, our relationship started, it was always tumultuous, but it did have romance. Mostly we were friends. We were great friends, but we did have romance and we did have sex. It just fizzled out real quick. And even when we were trying to have babies, because this PCOS makes me infertile, even the conception of our children was an unromantic act. I was turkey basted. I was artificially inseminated. So I can't even say that our union brought our babies. So I have not had a very healthy sexual life. I haven't yet to have a romantic and loving relationship that doesn't come with turmoil. So I believe this last bit of healing and learning to accept myself as I am while learning how to eat without guilt and shame will bring me to that final destination of readiness for love. And I see that that scares me because my filter is that all of the men leave. So I'm going to have to face that one. And I believe that, I've mentioned that while I still love Michael, the thought of having a romantic relationship with him is it's become less appealing to me because of the human circumstances in which he is living. He's just about to have a baby. He just bought a new house. He's living this little happy nuclear life. At least that's the way I see it from the outside looking in. And I don't want to, it doesn't appeal to me to get into the middle of that. So I really don't know what will happen with that. It's strange to be in love with somebody yet not interested in them at the same time. Now, Fairy Boy, however, I do still have an interest. I am still in love with him, and I do still have an interest in him. He doesn't have any of the ties and tangles that Michael has. So at this part of my journey, I'm really trying to dissect why I'm still interested in him. And at first I didn't, and I'm still not sure if this is what it is, but I think it is. But until I got that, I was like, I don't want to be attached to him anymore. I wanted, I would like cut cords. I'd visualize like scissors cutting our electric cords and whatever it is, and just having a mantra of letting him go and all of this. And then I remember that clip I showed where Heather Trance channeled Michael's higher self. Well, before he jumped into Heather's body, Heather's higher self, Heine, was telling me to quit fighting it. If you have these feelings, they're there for a reason, so just go with them. So I quit cutting my cords and stuff, and I just decided that there's a reason that I'm still clinging to him, and I'll figure it out. And I'll let him go when the time comes. Well, I think that I'll wear him or my love, my unrequited love for him, like another one of those protective blankets, because I absolutely understand the complete futility of clinging to him. He's never, ever, 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 ever going to come back to me as long as I continue to cling to him. So he's safe. He's a safe person to love because I cannot be hurt by him ever again. I cannot be vulnerable to him. I cannot receive love from him or anybody else as long as I keep loving him. So I also believe that getting to the end of this particular journey of accepting myself as I am will also bring a release of my desire to connect with him romantically. Now, a long time ago, Voltaire, and maybe it was Jean-Francois, I can't remember, but one of my guides told me that love never dies, it only transmutes into something else. And I wonder about that, because what about the boy from 1988 or whatever it was? Now that guy, he broke my heart and he humiliated me like nobody else did. And I was in love with him. But I feel like I can honestly say I do not love him at all. I'm completely indifferent to him. I guess on some level I can be grateful to him for fucking me up so I can have this growth experience now. But I don't really care about what happens to him. It's not that I wish him harm. I'm just completely indifferent. So when the guides tell me that love transmutes from one thing to another, I'm like, does it really? Because I don't really care about that guy anymore. However, he's not one of my 20s, so I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I believe that I will always have love for my romantic twins in one form or another, but I don't know. Because even though I feel like I don't want to have a relationship with Michael, like I said, I still feel love for him. I'm not dependent on an outcome with him. I can take it or leave it. Whatever. We'll see what happens with that. But Fairy Boy, I can still feel myself clinging to that a little bit. And I need to let go of that Fairy Boy blanket. So, let me talk about some stuff I learned about the food and the eating then. So after I did that tapping with Tiffany and, I had that realization about how next after, when when I was 12 and the PCOS and, my first experience with the boy choosing somebody else, it all connected. It all happened at the same time. So my brain automatically made wires to make those correlate without me even understanding what was happening. The other thing that I did after I ended my session with Tiffany was I decided to go and celebrate and buy myself lunch, and I was going to be very mindful of this meal, and I was. I went to a restaurant, and it was like kind of I don't know if it's a sports bar, but there were TVs everywhere with games, and I'm not interested in games, so I stayed away from the TVs. I didn't want to have like the mindless distraction of a show I didn't even care about. So when my food showed, I was very careful about what I chose. And by careful, I don't mean I was counting calories or fat, although with me, price definitely plays into things because I'm so damn cheap. But anyway, I got myself a $10 sandwich. It was really good too. It was a brisket and grilled cheese sandwich. And I cut it in half. And I took even half of half, I think. I can't. Anyway, I cut that thing in pieces. And it came with fries and ranch. And I don't know if you know this, but ranch in my book is a food group. So I love ranch. I hate ketchup. I love ranch. Ranch on everything. So I'm eating my French fries and my sandwich, and I'm being very mindful. I'm chewing very slowly. Sometimes I would close my eyes and chew just to not be distracted by what I saw. I stayed away from the TVs. I just enjoyed the atmosphere and watching other people while I chewed slowly and savored every bite. Totally enjoyed that ranch. I love fries too. I'm such a French fry whore. I love fries. That would be my downfall, I think, if I were going to count calories, because they're so high in calories, aren't they? How is that? Anyway, they are. But I don't care because I'm not counting calories. Just the thought of cutting my portions in half and being satisfied with half a meal, which I was done. I had like 2 bites of my half sandwich left, and I chose to just eat them, knowing that 2 bites weren't going to make or break me. Plus, it left me with a nice half triangle of sandwich left without this little bit of bread, and I didn't have to waste it. So I saved half my meal. And if I can truly find satiety in half of my servings each and every time I eat, doesn't that just have a logical progression that if I eat half of what I've been eating all along, I will lose weight? However, I don't always want to eat just half the meal. That's a rule and that's a restriction. So if I felt like eating that whole sandwich, I would have. And I'm really trying to be mindful of how I feel after a meal, because I want to learn. I really want to learn to feel inside me when enough is enough. And I'm not entirely noticing those cues yet, because sometimes, unless I do that real focused eating, I space out. If I'm talking with my kids at the dinner table, I'll eat it all. And I'm realizing I don't need to eat it all. And this is something that I think everybody can benefit from, is that one of the most important things I'm learning that never even knew before is how important the experience of enjoying food is, and how much we just take that not for granted, but don't even follow it. We don't realize how important it is to enjoy food. How many times have you heard Spirit say that the reason we come back into human form is for sex and food? Well, when you have sex, you are living in the moment. You are focused. You are enjoying it. You're not scrolling through your Facebook feed. You're not mindlessly watching the game that's on the TV in the corner. Sometimes you do watch, never mind. I was going to say sometimes you do watch TV. And then I was like, wait, what am I talking about? And then I laughed because sometimes you're watching porn. That's funny. But my point is that when you're having sex, you don't have all these other distractions going on. You're paying attention to it because it's something that's joyful and you want to relish and savor. Why don't we do that with food? We do scroll through our Facebook feed. We will watch a mindless show on TV. We will sit there and talk with our partner across the table. And then at the end of the meal, we're like, where the fuck did my food go? And because our bodies are programmed to receive joy from food, when we forget to partake in the joy part, we're left with feeling empty. Even though our bodies are full, our psyches feel like it missed out on something. And that is another reason why we overeat. That is a reason why we're still not satisfied after a meal. I think this PCOS predisposes me to craving sugar after a meal. I want to investigate that more, only because I want to learn how to combat that. But I think everybody may be able to relate to rushing through a meal and then wondering where it was. We're eating on the road. We're just downing our chocolate shakes or whatever it is. One of the best ways to not overeat or to become satisfied with smaller portions and meals or with meals in general is to stop, take time to savor that meal. Because as a human, we need to savor that thing. It's important to our bodies and we don't even know that. Did you ever consider that? Did you ever consider that the reason that Americans are so fucking fat is because we race through our meals because we're not paying attention to the joy that they're supposed to bring to us? So we keep seeking out that joy that's missing. It could be that simple for some of us. And I believe that's one of the cases with me, because if I stop, slow down, savor my bites, do not be distracted, check in, see how I'm doing with my meal, all that stuff, then I will become an intuitive eater. I may not have to be so diligent in my focused eating at some point. I think I will be, well, it's not I think, I know. I believe I will be able to determine that much sooner without thinking about it. Things like that, it will become more naturally to me. And last night, my friends, Sarah, Denise, and Michelle, they did like a little live channeling session, and I got to ask people were allowed to ask questions, but I said, I don't have a question. I already know I have this new success filter and I know I will succeed, but I'm going to ask that the guides provide me with a little encouragement and pat on the back, because every once in a while I'm starting to, I fall into the place of fear, because what's happening again, another part of this intuitive meeting is to make peace with your food. So you just eat everything that you crave that feels forbidden. I'm still on a sushi kick. I've been eating sushi like 2 or 3 times a week. And I go to like the park and I'll just sit in my car and eat it, because I don't want to be around my family while I do all this stuff. I want to have like a nice atmosphere. I want to make my eating experience as pleasurable as possible without racing through it. So I kind of have picnics in pleasant areas and stuff, and I'll savor that food. Once I get to a place of realizing that that food is always there for me, that I don't have to scarf it, that I don't have to inhale it, that I don't have to overeat and binge on it, then I won't. And it's happened to me many times with many of the foods already. So I'm still in that place though. So I've gained a lot of weight. So here I am, literally choosing to become what I fear, which is fat. I'm so big right now. Look at, I have my camera angle, but look at this chin even. I got chubby again. I hate it. But again, my goal is not weight loss. My goal is self-acceptance. And because I haven't accepted myself yet, I'm still hoping for the weight loss. And that's why I keep rationalizing. If I cut it in half, then I'll lose weight. I still think that's a truth. But it's not why I'm here. I just really want to self-accept. So what the messages that the 3 ladies gave me from the guides is that Denise said that I should just continue on this journey with blinders on. And at first I believed that meant, because I was curious, do I need to get like a dietitian that specializes in intuitive eating? Do I need a counselor? Should I buy more books? Should I do the workbooks that come with this thing? Where am I? I want to be as proactive as possible. And at first, as I'm reading the book that my friend Carrie gave me on intuitive eating, I was like, no way, I can't believe this. Usually when I read a textbook, I'm either disinterested or already know. But this time around, I was like, I can't believe this. I was learning so much, and so many old ways of thinking were just being like, obliterated. My friend made that word up once. I like it. But now I'm getting to a place where I'm wondering about things, and I continue on with the book reading. I'm like, oh, I just did that all by myself without the book telling me to. Oh, I already figured that out. I'm already doing that. So I feel like maybe what Denise and her guides were saying by the blinders is, don't worry about getting a dietitian's input. Don't worry about getting all of the books and all the information. Just follow your inner guidance. It could be that, or it could also mean like stay the course. Keep your blinders on. And usually I like to take into other to consideration other people's perspectives. I like to be fair. I like to work it out and make sure that, I'm not jumping to conclusions or assuming anything. But right now, this is a time where I'm truly, truly, truly not to give a shit about anything else. I'm not going to care if that cute boy thinks I'm fat. I'm not going to care that that person, that stranger in the grocery store, sees a roll of fat on my back. I'm walking with my blinders, and my only focus is how I feel about myself. And then Michelle gave me a message that said that this is going to be so good for me. Keep going. I'm doing this. This is going to teach me how to go within, and something about being true to my heart. I don't know what it was, but it really made me cry. I wish I had that recorded, but really it was very encouraging messages about how this is not only going to happen and work and I will succeed, but that it will carry on into other areas of my life, which I also already knew. But that's what I asked for. I asked Spirit for a pat on the back and validation, and I got that. Now, as far as Sarah's message goes, we're going to Wisconsin tomorrow. We're just going to, fuck it. We're going to put on our masks and go on a trip to the coldest state in the country right now. It's like 28 degrees there. But we're going to go anyway. So her message was that we're going to go eat some cheese curds. Because, she's cheesy and corny. We'll go eat some cheese corn or corn cheese, cornbread with cheese on it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to be mindful of my eating. I'm going to enjoy my eating, and I'm not going to stress about it. I'm going to, for the first time ever, go on a vacation and enjoy my food without feeling like I got to binge and eat it all because vacation's going to end soon. So I'm curious to see how I do. If I go nuts, like on any other vacation, or if I've evolved enough in my progress to not binge. And by the way, the binges are, they're not anything for me to feel guilty about because they teach me. I thought, after I had that really successful lunch with my grilled cheese sandwich after my tapping with Tiffany, I'm like, okay, I'm onto something. But like 2 days later, I binged again, and I was okay with it. I did get a little guilty, but I understand that I'm, in a place of transformation, and guilt is reasonable. I tapped that shit out, and I used that experience to learn from. So now I'm trying to decide what time of day am I binging. It's very often in the afternoon. It's not at night. It's not in the morning. It's in the afternoon. And I'm trying to figure out why. Did I eat breakfast that morning? Because sometimes I'm not hungry in the morning, or I have some obligation and I skip it, or whatever it is. I'm trying to determine if there are factors that bring me to a point of binging during that time of day, or whatever it is. So even when I do like the things that I would consider bad at some point, I have a new voice in my head that's not the judgy voice. It's only the observational voice that's factual and leaving judgment out. So I'm using that a lot to help me grow and evolve. And I really appreciate that voice. It's helping me understand without guilt. Okay, let me go through my notes real quick. I think I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, I think so. Okay, look at that. It's only been like 50 minutes. I did it. I went under an hour. All right, you guys. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going on my trip tomorrow. I'm very excited, and I'm hoping that Sarah and we have an opportunity to do a little road trip, or I guess it's not a road trip. When we get there, we're going to be taking road trips because I have a feeling that a lot of things are going to be closed due to COVID. So I'll probably just do a lot of driving and sightseeing of the beauty of that part of the world. I don't know. I'm hoping it's still fall, even though there's snow there. We'll see. I'll take pictures. Don't you worry. Okay, guys, thank you again for coming along with me on my journey. And I appreciate the comments. They are getting fewer and fewer, probably because I don't interact enough. The last couple weeks, I just put hearts, and I apologize for that. It is a personal wish of mine that I were to engage more, but I just get tired. I'm busy, and I got these 3 kids. They're pretty easy, but there's still 3 of them, and I got to feed them and shop for them and, do homework with them, all that shit. Plus, tomorrow I have to go have some fun. All right, guys. So thank you again for allowing me to grow through you. And I hope very much that you got something out of this. All right. Till the next time. Thanks, guys. Hi, I'm back again. I haven't had to do that in a long time. I have to, tack a little bit on or at the end or the beginning because I forgot something. And I'm almost tempted to skip it, but because I mentioned this in the opener for the previous video, I just feel obligated. I feel like I have to include this story. I didn't talk about when I was in the grocery store and what happened with the at least I don't think I did. I know I spoke about, I can't remember if I said it or not. I'm going to just say it again. I forgot something else too. But I was in the grocery store and I've mentioned, look, see, I even went out. I had to go to the grocery store again. I had to go get some milk. So I slapped on my legendary gray sweatshirt. It's my favorite one. This is my new one, actually. This one isn't even legendary. I'm on like my 4th big giant gray sweatshirt because it's my favorite outfit. I love this thing. And am I hiding or just being cozy? I think a little bit of both. Anyway, carrying on. So I was in after, I had my lunch and I figured out my whole sandwich thing. And after I was, did my driving around, which I didn't mention, but I was driving around and that's when I realized that, puberty kicked in the PCOS, which kicked in the weight gain at the same time that the pattern started to emerge of being second best and secret girl. And I did mention that girl from the skating rink, that she was the opposite type of me, which was she was not short and she was not round. And that also set a standard. It just so happened that, I don't know, am I particularly short and round? Is that why? I don't know. But all of the other girls that were not second best secret were tall and thin and not always blonde, but not the dark hair that I have. It was lighter back then, but they always felt like blondes. Even the brunettes to me, I see them as blonde because I'm so dark haired. So either way, whatever color they were not my shape. They were my opposite shape, which perpetuated me feeling insecure and unworthy. So I wanted to throw that in too, but going back to that grocery store story, these are the kinds of things that I, go on in my mind. I really wanted, I still do, I haven't got it yet. So this is still one of my forbidden foods that I need to make peace with, is chocolate cake. And again, I'm so cheap. I love that day old bakery rack. There's so much stuff there. But the last time I was there, they did in fact have a chocolate cake, but it was a big one. And again, in the first portion of this video, I mentioned that I'm not doing all of this eating stuff in front of my family. I'm not being like a closet binger necessarily, but they're not on my same journey right now. So they don't need to see me shoving a whole cake in my mouth. And I didn't want a whole cake, so I know I'd end up sharing with them, and they don't need it either. I'll bring in so much other junk for us to share. So I was looking for just like a slice of chocolate cake, and they didn't have it. I didn't want the big cake, but what they did have was like a single serving size of powdered sugar donut holes. So I was like, ooh, I'll go ahead and get that instead. That'll, satisfy my sweet tooth. So I picked it up and I put it in my cart, and I immediately went to extreme shame and guilt because I knew, not only from experience, but from those intuitive eating blogs and the book or whatever, that if you don't make peace with the food that's forbidden, you will continually chase that craving. So now I was pissed because now I'm guilty for grabbing the donuts. I didn't honor the chocolate cake craving. And if I put the donuts back, then I'm in a place of restriction. So now I've created 2 opportunities to binge on both the cake later, because I'm going to need to make peace with that one. And then the donuts that I love donuts too. Powdered sugar donuts, yum, yum. So now I created a double binge for myself. And even though it was just a single serving, whatever, I'm suffering this huge guilt and shame. So that's the opportunity I took to start tapping in the grocery store. I started tapping right then and there. And, 2 things happened. I did alleviate my guilt, but I also became very proud of myself for choosing to deal with my guilt right then and there, for taking an active role in healing myself. So I don't know if the tapping created that feeling of gratitude or if it was like a separate experience altogether, but I went ahead and I honored both feelings. I honored like the guilt and shame I had, and I wanted to, process that, move through that, honor that, there's a reason for that. And then I also wanted to very much honor the self-pride I took in dealing with it. So that was a double right there. Gosh, I hope I don't have to add anything else. I don't like putting on these little clips. I think that's it. All right, you guys, let's see. I'm reluctant to stop. I get hasty in this, and then I'm like, fuck, I gotta add something else again. Oh, well, fuck it. Chances are I messed up some of my words. I said things backwards. I forgot something, whatever it is. In those moments where I messed up, like, oh, see that video last week? I said these things aren't done in layers. They are done in layers. They're not done overnight. So I messed that up. So I hope when you guys catch those things, I just, flipped it around. And anything else, I'll add it the next time. I'm not doing this shit again because, like I said, I'm going on vacation tomorrow. I got to go eat some corn cheese curds, something or other. All right, you guys. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.